Hello everyone, this is Bitupon here. Welcome to Mindful Talks, where I invite guests from various fields like health and wellness, spirituality, and personal development to talk about their knowledge and their experiences. My today's guest is Menaca Pothalingam, connecting from UK, who is a multi-award winning leadership coach, serial entrepreneur, advocate for mental health, and ambassador for women empowerment. She's an international speaker, author, and resilience strategist. After 25 years in the healthcare industry as a dentist, she decided to move into the world of coaching, putting her personal and professional experiences into practice. She provides personal coaching and helps people transform their life by developing a growth mindset that helps to increase performance, productivity, and profit. She helps people to step out of victim mentality, prevent health-related illnesses, and reach full human potential. She has overcome a lot of adversities in her own life. She was born and brought up in Sri Lanka and was a victim of the Sri Lankan civil war that started in 1983. Her family escaped the war and migrated to different countries and communities after fleeing the war zone and finally getting settled in UK. She battled stress-related illness in her own life. By overcoming all these adversities, she became successful as a migrant Asian woman in business in UK alongside being a single mother. She has qualifications in neuro-linguistic programming, hypnosis, coaching, leadership, and education. She is lovingly described as the next Oprah of Asia for her demonstrated resilience and the willingness to continually learn and develop. Now that she is so successful in her field today, she thought it's time to let the world know about her story of resilience. The word resilience itself means the human ability to withstand adversity and bounce back from difficult life events. So she wrote a book about it titled Resilience Learned, which is an international bestseller. She documented all her experiences in this book. The book explores how she came to receive the gift of resilience through forgiveness, passion, truth, and love. Despite her family being torn apart during the Civil War, she arose stronger than ever. She is the recipient of multiple awards, including Iconic Woman Award of Women's Economic Forum Delhi, Service Entrepreneur of the Year, and Migrant Entrepreneur of the Year Award at UK Parliament 2019, Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan Award Mentor X 2020 for her contribution towards the nation's development. Let's hear her story and find out how to overcome adversities and difficult situations in life. I am excited to talk to her. Let's get started. Hello, ma'am. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me and having me on your show. It's a pleasure to be here.
My pleasure, ma'am. So yours is an interesting story, ma'am. You were born and brought up in Sri Lanka, and then you landed in UK, and then you were a dentist before, right? And then right now you're a life coach, and you have written an amazing book. I have read a lot of reviews about it. Unfortunately, I'm yet to read your book, but I had been following your work on social media and YouTube, and I have listened to a lot of your interviews. So please let us know about your story. How come you ended up in UK? What happened?
Thank you. So yes, I am from Sri Lanka. I was born and brought up in Sri Lanka. My childhood was perfect. I grew up literally not knowing what's happening outside. I had a very protected life, had a very loving family, so it was a blessing. Around 9 years, I had my first experience of the war in Sri Lanka, and you suddenly wake up and know the reality, what actually going on around you, right? And then, of course, slowly and but surely, I could see the devastation around me. I could see people missing, people, families losing the dear ones, losing their belongings, had to leave their homes, had to leave the cities sometimes. So it all kind of leaves a mark, definitely, as a child on you. However, in my early 20s, I had another experience of the war. And, when you see other people suffer, yes, it does create an impact on you. But when you witness it yourself, right next to you, somebody losing their life, that is a very, very different experience. I guess that's what people call the survivor's guilt, because you always think, oh, you could have done better, you should have done something. So, it brings in a myriad of emotions in you and changes you as a person forever.
Right.
I remember when I got home after the experience, the only thing I told my dad is, I'm not going to go back to the university, and enough. I'm not going to study anymore. And being in a family where the expectations were really high, and it was a natural progress, like from school to university, from university to work. That's how we are brought up. That's what is expected of you. So of course, my parents were devastated that I decided not to study anymore. So I still remember one day, within 2 days, my dad just casually asked, "Would you like to go to the UK? Because all your friends are going. Mostly, a lot of my friends left the country at the time." And I said, "No, it's too far. I wouldn't be able to come here, and I don't want to go that far without knowing anyone.
Universe had a
What will I
plan for
do
you.
there?" Yes, I just don't want to go. So, of course, a few hours later, in fact, and my dad came back and said, "Oh, what about India? That's not very far." So I said, of course, instantaneously, I said, yes, that would be great, because I had seen these Bollywood movies, the Collywood movies, the life is perfect. And it's just an extension of Sri Lanka. Actually, that's how I saw at that age. I was wrong about it for sure. When I landed there, firstly, you guys have, how many hundreds of thousands of people there. Firstly, when you step out of a building, or you only see people around, which was new to me, that experience. Secondly, there are so many different languages. I didn't know many people. So it was a very difficult and different experience for sure in the beginning. However, with time, you get to know it. You get to know people, and I made lifelong friends. I learned the language because I didn't study in English up to that point. So that was another step back for me. But life goes on. That's what
Yes.
happened, right? When the challenges comes, you have two choices: either sink or swim. I guess I decided to swim. So I decided to learn Hindi, so I can speak Hindi fluently. Even today,
Oh,
I speak to
nice.
people in Hindi, and I master the language of English.
But your mother
I
tongue is
wouldn't
Tamil.
say yeah, I speak Tamil. Yeah.
Okay.
So I, as a kid, I actually learned Sinhalese because my dad's a doctor and we used to move from place to place. I can still read and understand fully Sinhalese, but I don't speak that fluently any longer.
Okay.
So yeah, so I made a lot of friends there, and then of course I was teaching dentists in Bangalore, and then life moved on, and I landed up in the UK. I, did my exams again. Have been a dentist for 25 years now, and have a practice. Yes, for a short time I wasn't working, but now I work a day in a week as a dentist, and I would say all my experiences, the war, the migration, the stress-related illness, being signed off, hitting the rock bottom sometimes, having the fraud, being a dentist, being a mom, being a single mom, all that is what defines me who I am today. Sometimes people are surprised when I say I don't think I would really change anything what happened to me any longer, because there was a time I saw them as my weaknesses, I saw them as my failures. I still tell to date that I was the queen of failing, and I had a lot of failures, I still have a lot of faults. I'm not no way perfect. I'm still a work in progress in many ways, but I am what I am, and I have learned to accept myself for who I am and love myself for what I am really now.
So I have heard you say somewhere that you do meditation also, right? You practice meditation, and you had stress-related issues. So I want to know, first of all, meditation has a lot of benefits. I know I have got a lot of benefits myself. I have been doing practicing meditation from last 1.5 to 2 years. So has meditation helped you overcome your the illness, and what all other benefits that you have got from meditation?
Okay, so before I go into meditation, yes, I did have stress-related illness. The reason I started talking about it very openly and speak about it again and again and again is because in some communities it is still a huge stigma. No one wants to talk about it, and yet 1 in 4 of us have it. So I can't understand, how the statistic really doesn't fit in well with why we wouldn't want to speak about it. And secondly, before going into meditation, I would say there are so many modalities you can take, so many paths you can take to reach the same destination, and meditation is definitely one of it. So I did have hypnotherapy, I had neuro-linguistic programming. I have had Ayurvedic treatment because I just want to get better. I really didn't care how I got there.
Yes.
And all those things have helped in its own way. And I had medications as well. As you know, I had gone to the GP, I had gone to psychotherapy, and I'm not ashamed to say that because I want other people to think they should go and seek help when they need. However, long term, I think the root cause has to be sorted out. And I think that's where the meditation comes into play
Mm.
because I am a certified NLP practitioner, certified hypnotherapist. However, my dad did meditation and yoga and for years. And
So you
actually,
learned
I
from
was one
him?
of those, not really. So
Okay.
actually, one of those kids, I used to think like it's a waste of time just sitting and doing nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
You know, I was a doer. I had to do to become successful, not just
Mhm.
sit somewhere and silence. And it's what a waste of time. Actually,
Mhm.
that was me. And I am ashamed to say it now, but that was me. And that's the truth. But a few years back, obviously, these things change people forever when you have those experiences.
Mm.
And slowly, of course, I decided to try it. You know, okay, fine, why not try it? So I slowly tried it. And then recently I went on a mindfulness, structured mindfulness program with Oxford for 8 weeks. And it was great. And I'm planning to do the teachers training so that I can train others now in mindfulness. So meditation has many benefits.
Yes.
However, I prefer the mindfulness more, only because I think it is so much more forgiving and it is so much more practical for the modern world
Mm.
because I'm also doing another course because I just want to keep growing myself because if I am teaching other people, the most one ingredient you have to have is to keep developing yourself as well. You can't just
Yes.
teach other people and not develop yourself. So mindfulness, the good thing is you can forgive yourself and you know for a fact your thoughts are going to wander. You
Right.
accept it as a norm because as
Monkey
a
mind.
mind you would. Yeah. So
Mm.
that is the best thing about mindfulness for me particularly. Might be I haven't reached that point yet, that where I can just switch off my brain totally and just be in silence. And also, like, you could do for 5 minutes, you could do it while you are having a meal, you can do it while you're driving, you can do it even when you are speaking to someone. That was like awakening on itself when I came to know in my course that I can be speaking to you and I can be still very mindful about it.
Mm.
And then that goes into the area of communication actually, because most of the time when we are speaking to people, we are speaking to reply. We are already starting to process in our brains
True.
what we are going to tell next. Instead of that, when we are mindful, I think active listening is a natural byproduct.
Mhm.
So
So
I
you
think
must
it
be
is.
knowing about flow state, ma'am. Actually, there are a lot of videos on flow state. So do you think being mindful and the flow state is the same thing? So when you are actually conversing with somebody, go into that flow state and just focus on the conversation. And then when you are eating, just focus on the eating. Is it the
Yes,
same?
I mean, I think I am not an expert yet in mindfulness of flow state,
Okay.
but as far as my understanding goes, mindfulness is nothing but just being present.
Yes. Mm.
Um, and still, flow state, I guess, it is still another step ahead, even being active and still being mindful.
Mhm. Okay.
You're doing something and
Um,
you're still in the flow of things, like the two parts come together because you can be walking and you still can be mindful. You can speaking and still can be mindful, right? And the
mm.
flow state, I think, is accepting it's okay, because sometimes interruptions will come. It's okay. And still being happy and going forward and just being, I think, adaptability and the ability to go with it, I think, comes with it. But mindfulness on its own will calm you down anyway. It kind of gives a different perspective to things. It makes you more empathetic. You
Mm.
understand people better. You communicate better.
Mm.
You are much more forgiving of what's happening. So I think with all those things, flow is a state you would have achieved anyway. I think it's like, it is very difficult to be mindful and not to be in flow, I think.
Yes. And I want to talk about journaling. Do you do journaling also? You do, right?
Yes, I do. Yes, I
Okay,
do.
okay. Even I do. I had been doing this practice from, I think, last 1 year. And journaling for me is, for everybody, is actually like putting your brain on a paper. And yes, just
The brain
taking
dump.
your brain out and seeing your brain by yourself. So I want to know some tips from you. What kind of journaling you do, and for
Of
the
course.
viewers, how can they benefit from journaling? Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So in my coaching, I tell them and I do the habit challenge for 21 days, and it is definitely a part of it as well. So I'm more than happy to tell about it. And I really actually wanted to release my own journal
Oh,
but there's only so much you can do at one point. So it's like in process. So for me, the journaling, the day starts the night before, if you can understand that,
okay. For the
because
next day, you do the
yeah,
journaling
so the evening
previous day.
before, write down everything you want to do for the next day,
Mm.
because as you wake up, otherwise our brain is functioned to look for problems, not
Mm.
for solutions, right?
Right.
Because from the caveman stage we are used
Survival
to
mechanism.
yeah, survival mechanism, like we are
Mhm.
always focusing on issues. So but when you already have a list of things what you are going to do the next day,
Mm.
there's no, you don't have to worry about it. All you have to do is start doing it.
Mm.
You don't have to think what to do or where to start, how to start, because that's the best thing about it. And don't I was a multitasker, and I used to think the more things are on my diary the better. How wrong was I? So I always tell my coaches or my mentees now, please make sure that you don't have more than 3 things in your diary. If you do more than that, it's a bonus. But otherwise what happens is you feel like a failure, and then when you feel like a failure, you don't want to do it at all. So instead of that, it's better to do 3 things. That's one thing. And in the morning, it's always good to write what you are grateful for, gratitude. Um, Oprah Winfrey, I'm a big fan of her. So Oprah Winfrey talks about it. She is grateful for the cup of coffee she's having. She's grateful to be able to look at the trees and be alive. How many people are, losing their lives before they know it? Particularly
Oh,
today's world, we know, right? Like a lot of
yes.
people don't. I mean, even as we speak today, SPB. I don't know whether you know him, S.P.
I
Balasubramanian.
know. Yeah.
He passed away. So I grew up listening to his songs, as particularly a Tamil-speaking child. So life is so transient. So be grateful for the little things. Might be somebody said your smile is nice. Somebody said your dress is nice, or you are having that great coffee. You're able to speak to someone. Someone is still checking on you. They are still bothering you. Send you a text to see how you are. There are multitude of multiple things which is happening, but we are not grateful. We always somehow want to have the next thing, do the next thing. In that, we forget to be grateful for what we have. And there's a lot of science behind it now to show when you are grateful for what you have, you're more likely to get what you want to have.
Exactly.
So, so there are so many different stories. When I was interviewed yesterday, I was sharing that as well. There are so many stories. So I think that is the other thing about gratitude. So you start the day with it. And of course, then as the day progresses, you can stop and take a step out, because what do? We move from one box to the other normally. If you think about it, we get up from the same side of the bed, we get out, have the same coffee, get out, get into the car, go to work, and then most of the time, even unless there's a roadblock, we even follow the same path to go and come back, right?
Mm.
So instead of that, just step out of that box, do mindfulness, do meditation, or just go for a walk, or even just get out of your office and be outside it for 5 minutes and just go back. That gives you different perspective, and that will make you a better person, and your mental function will be better. You can focus more. You need that break, because there's a Pomodoro technique even in time management, where you have to like take every 20 minutes you take a break, and 90 minutes you take a longer break, so
Mm.
that you are much more effective when you come to focusing on things. So there are so many tools you can use, but you have to consciously make sure that you take that break. I'm doing this course now, and they talk about saboteurs a lot. It's nothing but what we tell ourselves. We are the worst enemy for ourselves. Our limiting beliefs kick in, what other people said kicks in, and self-doubt, self-harm. And I normally tell when I'm giving my talks or training, I always tell, if you speak to anyone in this universe the way you speak to yourself, you wouldn't have any friends. Everybody will
Right.
just disown you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the poor soul of you have to put up with it all the time,
Uh,
24/7.
there is one more way of saying this. I heard somewhere that if people are given a chance to exchange their problems with somebody else, and then everybody will take their own problems and go away. And you told one more thing which I liked, that you heard somewhere that when we are feeling grateful about something, we have more things to be grateful for. Yeah, I have done a lot of research on this, and there are some people like Joe Dispenza and Greg Braden. Do you
Yeah.
know them on YouTube? Yeah, I have.
Joe
I listen.
Dispenza, of course, I follow him.
Oh,
Yes,
I'm a big fan of him. And the science behind it is that obviously we are nothing but frequencies, right?
of course.
So
It's
whenever we have
energy.
this energy and frequencies, yes. So whenever we have this great, big, good energy from releasing from our consciousness, we attract similar things to us. And nothing exists except empty space,
Yes,
right? Materials do not
sure.
exist; they are empty
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
And
And
yeah,
what are emotions? We talk about emotions. Emotions are what we are
energy in
driven by, right?
mm,
Nothing but energy in motion.
yes,
That's all it is. Nothing else.
mm,
So
right.
I am really glad you mentioned that visualization bit, because there's a lot of science behind it.
Mm,
If we can have limiting beliefs because of the experiences we have had, and that's what defines us, and that's what creates our world. If we believe that, then why can't we believe when we create the positive experiences? That will also define us, and that will also become our reality, right? Because
mm,
that's all happens because the brain is telling you to do things and driving you in a certain path because of the experiences you have had. But
mm,
when you create those experiences in your mind, the good thing is brain doesn't know what is the reality and what
true.
you're making up.
Mm,
So these two merges in, and the brain suddenly starts thinking this is the reality, and then you become that person so easily because you start taking action. Like there are so many stories. There's somebody had a check given by a person who ran from a institution for insane people, and so he thinks, oh, I want to kill myself, I can't run this business anymore, I've lost everything, and he's just sitting there, and this person comes and gives this check, and so he takes it and he takes, okay, I'm not going to open it, but um, I'm going to keep it as a backup.
mm,
And a year's time, his business is flourishing, he's doing so well, so he comes back to give this check. And then to cut the long story short, he gets to know that was actually an insane person and the
okay.
check was never valid. But the belief that he
Mm,
had that financial backup made all the changes because his attitude changed, he took risk, his habit changed, he took different actions. That's all it is, really.
and so I want to know something from you. Like everybody's evolving. I'm evolving. You are evolving. We are learning something. And when I look back, if I think about myself, how I was 1 year back, I feel like laughing at myself. If it's 5 years back, I still feel like laughing more at myself. Not just laughing. I think that I was so different now. So in case of you, if you met yourself 20 years back, not 20 years back, let's say you were 20 years old, and if you met yourself, then what would you say to yourself? What suggestion would you give to yourself?
Just one thing, just accept for who you are and be proud of who you are. Because I always
Right.
felt my English was not good enough.
Mm,
I was the oldest person in the class. My accent was strong. I was big. I was thin. You always have something, right? And then I was at one point. The colorism also exists, like different things. Other people sometimes, even other people say to you that you are beautiful, you still don't think you're beautiful because you have all these hiccups inside you. You are
mm,
telling different stories and self-sabotaging you. So that's why I think the one message I would be saying to me, and I would be saying to all the young people out there, just be proud of who you are. And you are unique, you're special, and there's no one like you. And
the
why
power,
do you
yeah.
want to become like someone else?
Mm, nice. So since we spoke about Dispenza and all, I'm sure that you also listen to a lot of other such people on the personal development field. Which all other people that you listen to, like podcasts or YouTube lectures and all?
Um, I like vulnerability, strength. Um, so that kind of was a game changer for me,
Okay.
actually. I'm just thinking name now suddenly slipped out.
Mm.
Um, and I like Mel Robbins. Of
Mel
course,
Robbins,
Oprah
yeah.
Winfrey is the epitome of it. I hardly miss any of her talks or shows because I feel she is the prime example of resilience. She has had all sort of problems. She came from nowhere with no support, and look at her now. She's like, and it's good to see people like that. I like Brian Tracy.
Tony
I
Robbins,
like
do you listen to?
Bob Proctor. Yeah, yeah. But Brian Tracy, because he has this eat your frog in the thing, in the meaning,
Eat That Frog book.
do the most important thing the first thing in the morning.
Yes.
So everybody has something good to say. But I think in today's age, the only thing is we have the science says we have around average 60,000 thoughts a day.
Right.
And we are inundated with information. So I think for people like you and me, I think it's important to continuously learn and adapt. But it is also equally important to implement. So sometimes what happens is you're so busy acquiring knowledge, you're so busy collecting and accepting what they're saying. And sometimes it comes from a place of I am not good enough as well. I have been there myself, because when you think you're not good enough, you're always having self-doubt, and then you're always looking up to learn the next thing. Because the way I coped with my I'm not good enough was I was always doing a course. I was always having another certificate, because that was my way of giving credit to me to say I am okay, at least average. If not good enough, forget about it, but at least I am okay. I can survive because I have these additional qualifications, or so much I'm collecting knowledge or going for these seminars and webinars. So you have to be careful, I think, in that space where, yes, it is important to learn, but it's even more important to implement. So they say you keep big dreams, but take small actions or small steps. And that's where it comes from. So
big dreams, but small actions. Nice. So
yeah.
So before we conclude, before I ask my last question, I want viewers to know where can they find about your upcoming work, and where can they find I'll put the book links below, but
Sure.
You have a website also, right? Which
Yes,
is,
I do.
I'll mention
Menaca.co.uk. It's easy. Menaca.co.uk. That's it.
All right, great. So any events or any workshops coming up right now?
Yes. So next month I will be doing a habit challenge. The reason I do the habit challenge, and it's for 21 days, I will turn up every day on a Facebook live group, and I will keep them accountable. I'll be giving them exercises to do. The main reason I started doing this is to make it more accessible for people in places and even anywhere. The affordability is not a problem, because I just charge £50, and so it's like 5,000 rupees in Indian money, so that it is available for everyone. And it's not it shouldn't be a barrier to get something. So whatever we spoke today is about habit, because I am a leadership coach, and I train professionals. And obviously, being a dentist for 25 years, my niche is dentists and having dental practices. However, I also want to give back something for as many people as I can, and at an affordable rate. So that's what I do. I am planning to do goal setting as well, goal setting challenge around December time, because that's when people are ready and suddenly think, okay, 21 is here, what we are going to create. So yeah, that's what it is. But my long-term vision before I finish is to build a holistic hospital in Sri Lanka and create training centers for women in Asia.
Oh, nice. Nice. That's really great dreams, actually. Nice. And so my last question to you. There are people who are still stuck. Okay, they want to do something great. They want to break free. So what message do you have for those people? Your last message.
Yes, of course. Being stuck to be having success is very, very simple. It's only one thing which stops you: fear. Fear of failure is the biggest ingredient, because you think, what will other people say if I failed? What if I get if I keep a webinar, what if nobody turns up? When I had my own talk show, I was the speaker on my first show, only because I didn't want any other speaker to be in that position that nobody turns up. but there's a difference. Yes, I was thinking about it, but that didn't stop me from starting the talk show. I still started it, but I took measures so that, okay, I am the one who's doing it. If nobody turns up, that's okay. Of course, my team will definitely turn up. So 4 or 5 people will be always there. And my mom, poor thing, she always comes for everything what I do. So, that's so, yeah, it's good to be cautious, but please don't make that the stumbling block for you to do something. So, if you are scared to do 5 mile run, just do for 5 minutes walk. Right. And if you can't do a course, like, because I think what stops us is we have this big dream. So for my dream is to have this holistic hospital and training centers. If I keep waiting to do that, I will still be waiting. But you have to start somewhere. I started with just online courses, and I just started doing the talk show. I am next thinking of interviewing people or doing the podcast. I wrote my book. There are all small steps aligned with a big dream to get there. So I think even if you just take 5 minutes every single day and do something which will help your dream long term, I think you will still get those success stories.
Since you told about fear, which stops people, and we also spoke about journaling. So can we say that, if whoever is having a fear, if they take a journal and write down, what happens if anything goes wrong, then what is the worst thing that can happen? And on the other side, write down what is the best thing that can happen. I think they'll put their brain on a paper, and then they'll figure out that the best thing that's going to happen is much, much valuable than the worst thing that can happen.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely, you're right. And plus, when you're fearful, you don't know some things. And actually, this morning, I was having a problem with my laptop, and I knew I had to come to this interview. I'm like, oh God, what am I going to do? Because I have a virtual background, it was coming all like funny. I have no idea why it never happened before. And but I recognized that fear. What was happening? So what I can do is, when you put it in paper or you think about it, then I had this green screen for a long time, never bothered to put it up. And I decided to put it up here today. I was like, okay, some time to do some DIY. Let's try it, because next thing is I have to ask my friends. Of course, nobody's just waiting around to come around. But so what I mean is, when you write it down, it also gives you the blind spots. It always gives you, okay, fine, I don't have the skill. Okay, might be I can go and read about it, ask someone, or learn about it. So that is another component, adding to what you already said.
Nice. Okay, fine then. It was really great talking to you. We got a lot of wisdom from you. So we'll hope to connect to you soon again. Okay, thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much for having me. It has been real pleasure. And I'm so glad you started this journey at least a decade before me. So well done for that as well. All the best for you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right.
Okay.